In August 1915, the Gallipoli campaign dragged on. British and Anzac forces struggled against Ottoman defenses. The land was harsh, dry, and riddled with trenches. Amid the chaos, one battalion prepared to move. They were the 1/5th Battalion of the Norfolk Regiment. About 266 officers and men assembled for their mission. Their orders advanced toward Turkish lines at Suvla Bay. They were told enemy resistance was light. Spirits were high despite the brutal heat. Many believed victory was close. The men marched through dusty gullies. Officers barked orders above distant gunfire. They carried rifles, bayonets, and full packs. A strange stillness hung in the air. Shelling had stopped for the moment. The landscape looked eerily quiet. The battalion pushed forward into low ground. Sunlight shimmered on distant ridges. Then something strange appeared. Several witnesses saw a bank of fog ahead. The mist hovered close to the ground. It looked dense and oddly stationary. The soldiers hesitated for a moment. Their commander urged them onward. They marched directly into the mist. Observers from nearby hills watched. The battalion disappeared one by one. Their khaki uniforms faded from sight. Soon, the last soldier vanished into the haze. Silence returned to the valley. No gunfire, no screams, no sounds of battle at all. The observers waited for them to reappear. Minutes passed, then hours. No one came back out. Runners were sent to find them. They found nothing. No tracks, no discarded gear, no bodies. The mist itself drifted away. The hillside was empty. It was as if the battalion had never been there. Commanders were baffled. They launched a search party. The search covered the entire area. They combed the gullies and ridges. They found no signs of a fight, no blood, no shell holes, no spent cartridges. It made no military sense. Some thought the men had deserted. Others suspected mass surrender. But Turkish forces denied taking any prisoners. They claimed they hadn't even seen the battalion. British officers pressed them for answers. None came. The story spread through the ranks. Whispers grew louder in the trenches. Entire units debated what happened. Some blamed quicksand or a sinkhole. Others said they'd been ambushed and buried. But there were no burial signs and no enemy fire was reported. The battalion became a mystery overnight. Newspapers back home mentioned them briefly, and censors cut the story. Families received no explanations. Only silence from the War Office. Their names stayed on the missing list. Comrades who saw the fog were shaken. They described it as unnatural, like smoke without a source. Like a curtain swallowing men whole. The military classified the reports. The battlefield moved on. Trenches shifted. More lives were lost. But the mystery lingered. The place where they vanished stayed eerily quiet. Birds avoided it. Soldiers gave it wide berth. Locals whispered it was cursed ground. Even Ottoman troops kept away. Officers marked the area on maps as uncertain. Months passed without answers. The missing battalion became legend. Stories spread in secret letters. Families clung to rumors. Some claimed the men had escaped. Others thought they wandered into enemy lines. But none were ever seen again. No remains turned up after the war. The earth gave up no clues. It's only the story survived. And it only grew stranger. Years later, the story resurfaced. Veterans began talking about it again. In 1965, New Zealand soldiers broke their silence. They said they had watched the event from nearby hills. They described the same low, dense fog. It hung like a solid mass over the ground. They swore no shots were fired. They said the entire battalion marched in, then the fog lifted, and no one was left. Their sworn statements caused a stir. Researchers rushed to check military records. It confirmed the battalion was missing. The official record said presumed dead, but no battlefield graves existed. The mystery reignited public interest. Historians began proposing theories. Some blamed an enemy ambush, but again, no bodies were found. Others claimed mass capture by the Ottomans. Yet no prisoners were recorded. No Turkish reports mentioned it. Some believed they were shelled to pieces. But there was no crater or debris. Others thought they got lost in the terrain, yet search parties scoured the area. No bones, no gear, nothing. The supernatural theories soon appeared. Some claimed a time slip swallowed them. Others suggested alien abduction. A few said they marched into another dimension. Newspapers mocked those claims, but the public loved them. The story appeared in mystery magazines. Authors wrote sensational accounts. They embellished the details. Some added glowing lights around the fog. Others claimed strange humming sounds. None of that appeared in original reports, yet it fed the legend. The battalion became known as the Vanished. Even skeptics admitted the case was odd. In the 1990s, archaeologists returned to Suvla. They searched old battlefield maps. They scanned the area with ground radar. They found scattered bones, but they belonged to other units. None were Norfolk Regiment soldiers. Some theorists argued the soldiers burned, but burning leaves ash and debris. None was found. Others thought they drowned in nearby marshes, but there were no marshes in that zone. A few pushed the desertion theory again. But where would 250 armed men go? No villagers ever saw them. No Ottoman patrols reported them. It made no sense. One British officer hinted at secret orders. He said they were sent on a covert mission. He hinted they were erased for political reasons, but he gave no proof. The military denied it. Some historians linked the case to war cover-ups. They noted similar disappearances in archives. Tire patrols vanished with no reports. Records were destroyed or classified. Conspiracy theories flourished. TV documentaries dramatized the story. They used fog machines and eerie music. They interviewed descendants of the missing men. Families demanded answers. The Ministry of Defense stayed silent. Journalists filed Freedom of Information requests. Nothing new emerged. All files were either lost or incomplete. The story reached global audiences. It appeared on radio shows. Podcasts debated the theories. Online forums still argue about it. Some blame a natural phenomenon, a rare meteorological event like ground-hugging fog. It might have disoriented the men. But disoriented men leave traces. They don't all vanish. Some point to collective hallucination from heatstroke, but that doesn't make bodies disappear. Others call it mass desertion out of despair. But where were the deserters' lives after the war? None ever surfaced. Mystery stayed intact. More than a century later, no solid answers exist. The fog theory remains the most haunting. The witnesses stand by their story. They saw the men walk in. They never saw them walk out. That is all anyone knows. The missing battalion became legend. Soldiers whispered about it during later wars. They spoke of the men who walked into the fog. It became a cautionary tale for new recruits. Some called the spot haunted. Others called it cursed. Local shepherds avoided the valley. No one camped there. Even birds stayed away. Nature seemed quiet over the ground. Memorials to the Norfolk Regiment list their names. They read simply, "Missing in action." Families still place flowers each year. They never got answers. The regiment itself still honors them. Their colors carry black ribbons on anniversaries. Modern historians debate the case every decade. Each new theory sparks arguments. Some call it wartime chaos. Others insist it defies explanation. The story shaped Gallipoli's mystique. Tour guides tell it to visitors. Travelers leave stones at the site. They call it the place of the lost. Folklorists collect versions of the tale. Every version changes slightly. Some make it spookier. Others make it heroic. But the core stays the same. Hundreds marched in. None came back. Fiction writers seized the mystery. Novels turned it into ghost stories. Films hinted at time warps. TV shows framed it as an alien incident. None proved anything. The public loves an unsolved story, and this one refuses to die. Some skeptics say it's exaggerated. They claim only a small patrol disappeared. But the Army's own records list over 250 missing. Their names are known, their bodies are not. That gap fuels the myth. Even military museums highlight the case. They display the men's last known photos. Their eyes stare out from century-old portraits. Young, hopeful, gone. The mystery also shaped paranormal lore. UFO groups cite it as early evidence. Time travel theorists call it a chronological slip. Paranormal shows feature reenactments. Fog machines roll as actors vanish. Viewers shiver on their couches. School history books mention it briefly, then move on. But some students dig deeper. They write essays asking where the men went. Teachers have no answers. Historians have only guesses. The soldiers have only silence. The Gallipoli battlefield still holds secrets. Archaeologists still search. Every shovel of dirt might hide them, but none have found them yet. Grass grows thick over the ridges. Wind hums across the hills. The earth keeps its secrets well. Some locals say they hear marching at night. Boots crunching gravel, voices murmuring orders. Then nothing. The legend feeds tourism. People visit to stand where they vanished. They stare at the quiet valley. They try to picture hundreds of men walking into white mist and never coming back. The story continues to inspire storytellers. Podcasts, novels, plays, refuses to fade away. The men's regimental descendants still honor them. They wear small badges shaped like clouds, a tribute to the fog and the loss. Even modern soldiers speak of it with awe. They walked into history, one veteran said, and history swallowed them whole. Over a century has passed. The battlefield has healed. But the mystery stands untouched. It's written in the silence there. In the empty space where they vanished, and in the stories told at night, around campfires and museum halls, the battalion is gone. Their mystery marches on.
That's it for today's Forgotten Tale. If this story made you raise an eyebrow don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that dusty little bell so you never miss another echo from the past. Drop it in the comments. We're always listening for new echoes. Got a weird bit of history you think we should cover? Until next time, keep your curiosity loud and your history weird.